Welcome to today's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast, your channel for super easy, no-nonsense advice on how to declutter and organise your home. Please welcome your hosts, professional organisers Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to episode 149 of the Declutter Hub podcast. I'm Ingrid. In today's episode, I'm talking to Tracy from Tracy's Treasured Keepsakes. Tracy creates keepsakes from clothes so the items can be seen every day and be enjoyed. Tracy, I cannot tell you how excited I am to record this podcast, so a very warm welcome.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for having me.
You know what? We connected months ago, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yes, we connected months ago. And I was like, oh, I love what you do. Can you please come on the podcast? But it's going to be ages before we're going to be able to record. But can you already please say yes now so we get you booked in?
I felt very hounded. No, I didn't really.
So you are a busy lady, aren't you?
Yes, very busy, but I can't complain. I get to see some wonderful clothes and get to help lots and lots of people. So yeah, I absolutely love what I do.
So tell me, I've got loads of questions for you, but just to clarify, you create keepsakes from clothes so people can enjoy them. So what kind of things do you then create? What can I imagine that you exactly do?
So quite a lot of people have clothes hidden away in a cupboard, whether it be their little ones outgrowing baby clothes or something that belonged to a relative that they've sadly lost. Sometimes they just can't bear to part with those clothes. So I help to bring them out into the open, have them on display. I can make bears and various different animals from them. So I'll lovingly cut them up and sew them back together to make bear animal. I do cushions, I do quilted blankets, just something that you can be able to save space, because we all know that all of those clothes take up lots and lots of space and we'll probably never get them out of that cupboard again. We like to think we would, but chances are life gets in the way and they will just stay there. And it's just a nice way to be able to get snippets of those clothes and together into a keepsake such as a bear that you can have sitting on your bed or on your chair or on a shelf somewhere so that you can see it every day. And clothes hold so many lovely memories. It's odd to think that by looking at a floral print or a checked shirt that it makes you think of what moment in time it was when they wore that item of clothing. So yeah, it's a nice way to walk down memory lane as well without intentionally going, I'm going to go and do that today. It just happens, which I think is lovely.
Yeah. And for those of you, I will definitely put the show notes, Tracy's details, because on her Facebook group, she's got an amazing Facebook group and she shows a lot of the things that she's creating. And honestly, I pop in every once in a while and just admire your work, Tracy, because they look absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I absolutely love what I do. So, and hopefully that shows through in my work. So, and I just love sharing with everyone and giving people ideas as to what they can actually do. Because, like I say, you probably wouldn't have. Some people have never heard of this before. So it gives them a bit of inspiration as well as to what they could do with the clothes that they're keeping hold of.
Yeah. And you said you do bears, mostly bears, but there are other animals that you do as well, don't you? I think I saw an elephant.
Yeah.
So what else do you create?
Yeah, so my most popular ones are probably the bears and the elephants, but I can do a whole array of animals. So there's bunnies, foxes, cats, dogs, a sloth, unicorns. Obviously, okay. They're quite popular with the baby clothes. Lions.
Oh, cute.
It's weird. I've got a whole list of animals. I can't think off the top of my head what they are. Yeah, penguins. I think I've said bunnies.
Lovely.
So a whole array of ones to suit different. So if for the baby clothes ones, for example, if there was a certain theme to the nursery, you more than likely you can pick an animal that would fit in with that theme, so it ties in another little memory for you as well.
Oh, nice. So because you do cushions and blankets, well, that's kind of, I mean, of course the idea is the same, but it's completely kind of different. It's more material you can use, like a bear or an animal. It's more kind of for show, but a cushion or a quilted blanket you could actually use in a room or put on a sofa or something.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It tends to be, the more I do is more the bears and the animals, but you're right, the cushions or even the blankets have a bit more of a use to them, and you can cuddle your bear and your cushion, but it's just nice to wrap a blanket around you as well. So it's got a bit more of a second use to it, whereas the bears, they are literally, they sit there, they display them, you pick them up and hold them every now and then they go back. So yeah, the cushions and the blankets have another use, which is nice. A way to recycle.
Yeah, definitely. I have far more questions about how this all works and how many clothes and all of those things. But I just want to know first, how did you get started? Have you been like a star at sewing for your whole life, or have you done a special course? How did this all came about that you started doing this?
Well, I suppose sewing kind of come from school. During that time, I'd obviously done GCSEs in it, and I'd had a sewing machine since. I haven't done any courses or anything like that other than that, but I've just literally have always used my sewing machine. But it was more for the creative side of things. So it was like creating fancy dress costumes for me, for going to parties, or as my little ones come along, having fancy dress costumes for them. And there was always like a bit of a creative side to them. I didn't go out and do alterations on clothes or anything like that. But yeah, it was just something, the sewing machine was always just sat there and I always used it. But it was more, how it all started was before, I think I'd had my eldest, Elizabeth, and I was at this fair and I'd seen this woman next to me, actually. She was doing all these amazing animals and bears, and I was like, what are these? They look like you've used baby clothes for those. She's like, oh, that's exactly what it is. And I sort of made a mental note going, that I'm going to have something like that done once I'd had my next child, because I was hoping I'd have a girl so I didn't have to buy loads more clothes again. And I was like, I'll make a mental note, that's what I'm going to do once I'm finished with my baby clothes. And then the time come, Harriet come along, I was dressing her in all of Elizabeth's clothes, and I was like, they're not your clothes, they're your sister's. They didn't have the same meaning to them whatsoever. So I was like, now's the time to look into it. But I couldn't find ones that I liked, and the ones that I did like were quite a lot of money. And being on maternity leave, Harriet was only 8 weeks old at this point. Being on maternity leave, I was like, I can't justify spending a lot of money on a bear. I've got a sewing machine sitting there. He'll just go nuts if I just go, hey, I've just sent my clothes off to someone, to something that I could probably do myself. So I ordered a pattern and gave it a go to see how it worked out. And yeah, I loved the result of it. And in my head, I was just thinking, right, I'm now ready to move on to Elizabeth's bear that I'm going to make for her. And my husband saw it and he was like, that is absolutely amazing. You should do this as a business. He's like my biggest supporter ever. And I'm like, no, who would want this? He's like, well, you did. Why not? So it kind of started from there, really. I put a post out on Facebook to my friends going, hey, this is what I've done. What do you think? And literally requests start coming in. It was absolutely crazy. I can't believe that before I even started a business, I had so many people messaging me saying, can you make this for me? So it's kind of how it all started, really. But I only had baby clothes in my head because I had a little one. That's all I was thinking of. And then it wasn't until a woman contacted me who had lost a son, and that was where the passion for the memorial keepsakes came in. And I was like, how did I not even think about this? It's like the most beautiful thing that I could hand back to someone. It's my gift to someone during their grieving process. I can give a little bit of hope and comfort. So that's it. Kind of went even bigger from there, and absolutely adore what I do.
Yeah. So you started out as kind of creating baby keepsakes, but then at some point somebody came with another request. You're like, oh yeah, I can do that too.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't see why why I couldn't. I'd seen before that some people have done it, and ultimately the process is still the same. It doesn't matter what clothes you use for them, the process is still exactly the same. You might just have to do a few different things if the clothing is different, so to a shirt, to a piece of knitwear, for example. But other than that, it's still the same. So I was like, oh, I can't see why not. She knew I was only just starting out anyway, which I loved, that she trusted me right from the start too. So yes, and then just handing back those ones to her. I think she placed a very large order with me, and I remember thinking, oh, how am I going to do all of this? The imposter syndrome kicked in. I thought I knew what I'm doing with the sewing machine, but when I handed them back to her, I could just see how much they meant to her, and yeah, it made me feel all warm and gooey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that feeling's not gone. I have it on every single one that I give back to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people must reach out to you with lots of different kind of stories and reasons why. So if you have to think back kind of since you've started, are there any special ones? I mean, of course, this was a very special one, that first one when she said, I've lost my son, can you create something? Are there other reasons why people contacted you?
I suppose it's different there's lots of different reasons why people have contacted me. You've got some who just couldn't bear to part with their little ones' baby clothes, but had absolutely no idea what they were going to do with them. So you've obviously got that nice happy side of it. Sadly, I have had a few where they've lost their baby during birth or a little bit further on, and they've just kept hold of those clothes. I've had one woman recently actually who she'd been keeping hold of the clothes for 10 years, had absolutely no idea what she was going to do with them, and she stumbled across my Facebook group and knew instantly that's what she wanted to do. I didn't have there was a particular animal that she wanted, so she wanted a dragon. They live in Wales, so it obviously has that kind of connection. But they also laid her son to rest in a dragon outfit as well, like it had little dragon motifs on it. So she said she wanted that kind of connection. So I went out and I got that pattern for her so that we could make it that little bit extra special. But then when it comes to adults' clothing, some are trying to like work uniforms. I've got someone at the moment who's got an RAF jacket from when she was in the RAF. And it's just been sitting in the wardrobe. She's no longer with them, so she wanted to have keepsakes made out of that. Or then you've just sadly got people that have lost their relatives and they just have no idea what to do with their clothes. They don't want to take them to a charity shop. They don't want to give them away because of the thought of parting with them is just too heartbreaking. So they just keep coming to me and having little keepsakes made out of them. I think they must be running out of clothes soon though, because I've made so many for them. But yeah, if that's what's going to bring them comfort and joy, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. Did I see something with a piece of a wedding dress a little while back as well?
Yes. So recently, that's my newest one that I'm venturing into is some wedding dress ones. I've got a few booked in over the coming months, so I'm going to be showing quite a few pictures of them on my Facebook group. I've got an exciting one that I've just finished, so hopefully she'll be coming to collect it soon, and I can share some pictures, because I never share photos until the recipients got them, because I don't think it's fair. I think they should be the first person to see it. So wedding dresses, because we keep hold of them. We spend all this money on these dresses and then we put them in storage and we never get them out again. We think maybe our daughters will wear them when they're older and they're getting married, but things outdate, don't they? And they just, I remember, I think my mum had that thought of her wedding dress, and I remember looking at it going, oh, no way.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I don't know how my daughter and I got talking about it recently. So my wedding dress was forever in my mom's cupboard, but my mom downsized last year. So she was like, right, do you want to keep some? Like, I'm a declutterer. So I said, I can't declutter the wedding dress. It was like the best day of my life. The wedding dress is staying. She's like, okay, well then it has to go to your house, because I can't have it in my 2-bedroom flat when I come from a family home. I'm like, right, that's fine. So it got here. And then I showed it to my daughter and she was like, I'm going to wear that on my wedding day. And I'm like, that's really nice. And I'm going to keep it anyway, but I don't want you to feel the pressure that I think that you should wear this. If you want to wear it when the time is right and you want to do that, that's up to you. But don't feel that I think that you have to do that because no, I know that, mommy, but I love your wedding dress. It's beautiful. And I'm going to do that. I'm like, well, you think that now, but at the time we'll see. And if you still want it, then we can talk about it. But if I don't want you to have that pressure for the next 20 years, thinking that is something that I want you to do. Well, this is something that you've decided for yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's a personal thing, isn't it? Like it's yeah.
You have in your head what kind of dress that you want, and sadly people have been sending me pictures of their dresses. They've had it in storage for years, never got it out, and then actually when they've got it out, but if it's not stored correctly, it's going to have some damage to the dress. And ultimately the decisions then where they've been going, I'm not sure if I like the idea of having it cut up, because it's quite a big thing, like this beautiful dress and you're going to hand it over to someone to take some scissors to it. It's a bit of a scary scenario. But then sometimes they've got it out and then they've gone, do you know what, it's ruined now effectively anyway, I can't give it to someone. It may never get clean. At least if I make a bear or a cushion or something from it, I can take it. There's plenty of material to the dresses that I can work with it and keep the stains off, so you still see that nice pristine dress. But I've seen some, she got it out to send a photo to me and then was like, I've no idea what this is. This wasn't like it when I packed it away. But I googled a lot, and if you're not storing them correctly, any little stain that maybe was on the wedding day, whether it be your perfume or a drink that maybe got spilt on you that you didn't know if you didn't get it cleaned, over time, you're going to get some nice brown splodges on your beautiful dress.
And am I thinking like, could, for example, if somebody like keeps like memory t-shirts or something, so for when they went on a trip abroad, or could you use like a t-shirt to make a memory blanket or use it for a bear or anything like that?
Oh, most definitely. You could probably use it for either of them, really. I mean, the t-shirts, because usually they've got like the big logos on the front of them, haven't they? They're a really good idea to use them on the blanket, because the blanket, I've got a nice big patch that I can use. I can make the patches bigger if need be to be able to fit in those big logos to see as much of it as you can. And it's a nice way of having that blanket that you can literally see everything all in one place, whereas with a bear it's a smaller area, but sometimes you can see that little bit of the logo that you know exactly what that t-shirt is. So it just depends on how much you want to keep of that item, really.
I love the idea about the RAF jacket as well. People must have loads of like uniform or school t-shirts, or maybe when they're fans of the Scouts or the Brownies. I mean, I'm like brainstorming away here behind my desk going, there's loads of stuff now that you can do.
Yeah, and that's what I think is crazy about it all from the start, that in my head I had baby clothes. That's all I'm going to be working with. But actually, when you sit down and think about it, there are so many different things that you can use. Like you say, the school uniform, if they're leaving secondary school, you've got their first primary school outfits that you might want to keep hold of. Some people like it if they've got the secondary school outfit, but they can have a nice posh looking bear with a tie on, for example, to replicate the uniform. And then again, you've got army uniforms and police uniforms and pilots. There's so many different things. It doesn't have to be just the baby clothes and just for someone who's sadly passed away. You've got all the little fun bits in between as well, which is what I love, is that there's so many different ideas out there, and it might be that it's not something that they've thought of. So that's what I say to people, is to reach out to me, tell me what it is that you've got, and we can have a discussion about what it is that I can do with them and give you a few ideas.
That was what make it special, isn't it, Tracy? When you talk to the clients and you hear the stories of the clothing and the garments and why it's so special to them. I mean, that's I think the icing on the cake, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and so some people don't share anything with me. They just send me the clothes and that's it. But then I do have people send me they send me photos so I can see who the clothes belong to, or they share a reasoning behind why they want a particular detail on the bear.
Yeah.
One at the moment is making little cravats, and it's because it was his favorite cravat and he always wore one. She said, I knew it had to be on the bear somehow, because that's, you see that and I just think of my dad. So it's some people share lots, some people don't, but sometimes it's nice to just bring it to life. And I love seeing them in their own homes as well. So once they've finished, some people like to share photos with me of where they're displaying them in their homes, and I like to see that in their own environments. And I know that they've returned home. And
right. So all right. So let's become then a little bit practical. So how does this work? So somebody's listening and thinking, okay, I want to do this. So do they contact you? Do they pick them which one they want? Do they then send the clothes? How does that go?
Yeah, so I'd say the first point would be to maybe have a little look as to what design you might want, whether that be that you look at my website, my Facebook group, or whether you have a consultation call with me and we can have a discussion about what it is that you're after.
Mm-hmm.
I work on a waiting list basis, so I would let you know when my next available date is, and then I would just ask for a deposit to secure your space. And then you almost get that time to choose the right items of clothing that you want to use. Sometimes you just have like this snap judgment and you go, I want to use this shirt, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the more you think about it, you go, this one has a little bit more meaning to it. So you've got a little bit of time to have a think about it and have a look at all the different examples of work that I do, and actually pick out the right items. And then what happens is, as your date approaches, I would get in contact with you and ask you to send the clothes to me. So they're staying with you as long as possible, and they're not sat in my storage. At least they're with you, because obviously they're your special items.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will update you as I go along. So you'll know when I'm designing your keepsake, when I've actually started the cutting process. It's a scary word to think, cutting. When I'm stuffing, and when it's finished and it's ready to come home to you. So you'll know where I am with it. That was one of the things that I thought of very early on, that if they were my special items and I sent them off to someone, I would want to know what was happening. I wouldn't want to have radio silence. So that's why I've come up with just some little video updates. You don't necessarily see the bear or the cushion. It's just literally just a little video with some text. But if you wanted to have some sneak peeks, that's absolutely fine as well. I am very sneaky with them, so I can give you a little snippet, but not giving the whole game away, because it's nice to have that surprise. And then it's just wait until it's returned to you. So it's quite simple. It's just as long as you've chosen what you want to have made and secure your space on the waiting list, and obviously choosing the right items of clothing.
So can people send basically any type of clothing? Can they even send things like knitwear, or is it like, no, knitwear is not practical, it has to be t-shirt or more fabric, or can they basically send anything to you?
I can work with most items, to be honest.
Okay.
So say, for example, the baby clothes ones, most people tend to think the sleep suits, like the baby grows, but I can work with the sleep suits, vests, trousers, jeans, t-shirts, their baby blankets, as long as they're not hand knitted items, because obviously as soon as I cut them up, they could just unravel. So I say hand knitted items are a no-no. But other knitted, like the shop bought knitwear, is absolutely fine, because the weave's a little bit tighter than a hand knitted one. I've had some like the little nappy covers, like the little nappy pants. They've been sent to me, and towels. So anything for baby clothes. But for the memory ones or the uniform, again, it's the same concept. Anything, whether it be shirts, t-shirts, jeans, trousers, suits, dressing gowns.
Amazing.
Anything you can think of.
Yeah. And so how many things need people to send in when they want to have something created? Do you say, okay, you need to send in 10 items, or no, 3 items is enough? Or do you kind of receive boxes full of stuff? Or is it like, no, just send me 3 or 4 pieces and that's what I'm going to work with?
So I tend to tell them how many as a minimum that I would need.
Yeah.
So the baby clothes tends to, for a bear, for example, be about 5 to 7 items. And it just depends, the number of items depends on what size clothes they are and what items you've sent me effectively. But anything that isn't used is then sent back to you.
Okay.
I'd say the ones that I tend to get more clothes sent for are the memorial items. They only, if you were to have a bear, for example, again, it's only 1 item of clothing that I need, but you can include as many items as you want. There's so many different panels to the bear, or a patchwork cushion. I can incorporate as many as you want. So yeah, I do get some people that go, I know you only need 1 item. Here's a big bag. I had a customer who literally said, I couldn't bring myself to look through the bag. So here's the bag of their clothes. Just pick what you think would work well.
Okay.
And you've got some people that go, I want this shirt on this arm and I want this on the body, and I get little diagrams sometimes, which is absolutely fine as well.
Yeah.
And if I ever think that it maybe wouldn't work, I would always let them know.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's their keepsake and it has to be perfect for them. I get some that give me no guidance whatsoever and absolutely trust what I'm doing, to then ones that have got detailed drawings that are probably better drawings than mine sometimes.
Amazing. So just out of curiosity, how much would it cost if I want to have a bear or a cushion or a quilt? What kind of price range are we talking about here?
So for the bears and the animals, they're £50 plus the postage. There are a couple that are a little bit more, but that's just because there's little extra work that's involved. So I do an owl, and I think it's the unicorn as well. That's just a little bit more.
Yeah.
You can have them weighted to the baby's birth weight as well.
Okay.
So depending on their weight, you get a price depending on how much they weighed. The cushions, for example, they start at £35, and again, depending on which style you have, the price changes depending on that. And then you've got the blankets that start at £95 up to £240. Obviously, there's there's a few different sizes that I do, different backing fabrics. So that's how it was so bespoke to you.
Yeah.
That I have a guide as to what it would be, and usually it's a set price. But if you want to have any extra little bits included, then I can give you a quote as to how much it is before you decide to go ahead.
Got it. And you do something special as well, don't you? Because I was having a little snoop around your website, and I saw something about something really special that you do.
Are you talking about the sound recorders? Yeah. So obviously the keepsakes are already going to be special to you anyway, but it's a nice little way of being able to add a little bit more sentiment to them. So I can pop in a little recorder inside the baby keepsakes, and whether it be a heartbeat recording from your antenatal appointment. Some people are lucky enough that their midwives allow them to record it. I don't think my midwives did, but some people do have those recordings, so I can pop that onto, it's like a little tiny heart button that I just literally pop inside the tummy, so that when you squeeze the bear, you can hear the heartbeat. But then on the flip side of that is if you've got a voice recording of a relative, then you can have the voice recording popped inside the bear as well, so when you squeeze your bear, you can hear their voice.
Amazing.
And just bring back a little, it's just another little extra touch to make it even more special to you and bring it to life a bit more.
I love how bespoke it is. I love how bespoke it is. You people can pick the animal that they want, they pick the fabrics, they can have little extras added, and it really is gonna be then something that fits with them and that they want, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and it's like the thing that I'm creating here is, it's very bespoke to you. No two bears are the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're handmade by me. I'm not a machine that's going to literally you are, even if you have them exactly the same clothes, exactly the same setup, you are going to have something that's slightly different.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes it more special, is that your one bear isn't going to be the same as your sister's bear, and it's going to have different quirks to it or a different pattern layout.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice that I can offer like little add-on extra bits just to make it have a bit more of a meaning to you. And make it that little bit more special.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sitting here thinking, because we've got a Sentimental course in our membership. And of course, one of the topics is clothing. And I'm now thinking here going, everybody who's listening, they're now probably thinking to themselves, I need to find some clothes. I'm going to do this. It sounds amazing. So how long does it take you to make a bear? Is it like one bear a day, or how does it work?
So I like to, the way I work is I can do one bear a day, but because of how I work, and I like to make sure that I'm not getting too drilled, because sometimes it can be quite overwhelming working on different pieces of work. So I tend to stagger it a little bit as to what I'm doing each week on there, just so that I can give it the time and attention that it needs.
Yeah.
If I'm focusing too much on something, that's where things can go wrong ultimately.
Yeah.
So I like to do a little bit of it, put it away and move on to something else and give it a fresh pair of eyes.
Okay.
So if, for example, you was to have a bear made, you'd be looking at about 4 to 5 weeks for it to be completed and sent back to you. It can be done sooner, but I'm quite busy at the moment. And this way I can fit more people in and help more people at the same time. Whereas if I just did one bear at a time, I don't think I'd be able to help as many.
Yeah.
And that's my problem, is I don't like to say no to people. And especially when they tell me stories, I'm just like, oh, okay, let me see what I can do.
We aim to please, isn't it? We aim to please. So you have a waiting list. You have become so popular, and because people adore your work, you now have a waiting list, don't you?
I do. So currently at the moment, I am booking for 2022. Sounds a really weird number to say, doesn't it? 2022. Yeah, I'm so honoured to have so many people trust me with their clothes that I have a waiting list this big. That's with me booking 15 keepsakes a week. So it's not even as if I'm just doing a couple and then moving on to the next week. 15, and literally I can put an update in my group as to where I'm booking for, and those spaces are literally snapped up. I don't know if it's like fear of missing out, or I mean, obviously people tell me that they adore my work, and I'm sure the humble side of me is thinking, okay, that's fine, I know.
Well, congratulations, Tracy. I mean, I have to admit, your work is top notch. So, but of course, you're here in the UK. So what do people, if they're listening in Australia or Canada or the US or somewhere in Europe, do you know of other people that do this? Is there an association of keepsake people? Or do we Google? What do we do? Because we can hardly send you stuff from all over the world. That you're going to be booked up to 2030. That's not going to happen, is it?
No, I think that might be a little bit of a crazy waiting list, really, wouldn't it? So obviously I cover the UK. I say the cover as if I'm the only one. There are so many keepsake makers out there. There are a lot of us. So if you wanted, I mean, a lot of people send clothes to me, but some people like to have someone local so that they can drop the clothes off because they don't want to put them in the post.
Yeah.
So there are loads of keepsake makers across the UK, and I know there are some worldwide as well. So the best thing to do is, like I say, you can either Google keepsake bear makers near me. That's usually a good one to pull it up. You can even probably do that on Facebook as well, and it will pull up whatever Facebook wants to show you at that time. That may not necessarily be local ones. I do sometimes get requests for people to join who do live in Australia or America. But I'm quite picky as to who comes into my group, because I don't want people to set their heart on having something made if I can't help them ultimately. But there's loads of us around. And you can find one that suits what you're looking for as well. and it might be that I'm a little bit out of your budget. There are other people out there. All I would say is to have a look at their work and have a look at their reviews.
True. Listeners, are you feeling inspired after hearing Tracy talk about all the creative things you can do with clothes? I mean, I'm thinking now, I've got indeed a couple of bits up in the loft in a box with some keepsakes that I'm keeping for my children. Maybe I need to have a little think about what I'm going to make. But I just love the whole idea. And when we saw you, I think we came across your Facebook group. I'm like, this is so interesting. And so many people have clothes that they want to do something with. So thank you, Tracy, for being on the show and telling us all about your fantastic business, and congratulations on your success.
Thank you. And say thank you for letting me talk about it. I don't get to talk to many people. I just tend to sit behind my sewing machine. So it was nice to talk to someone.
Well, thank you for sharing. And we'll definitely put all the details in the show notes. So if you have a look at declutterhub.com/149, that is this podcast, then you can find all the details of Tracy. And we'll include some other podcasts as well that might be interesting for you if you're having a think about your sentimental items. So that's it for this episode. We hope you've all enjoyed listening and are inspired to take action, because that's what we're all about with the Declutter Hub. Now, I wanted to give a special shout out because next week is podcast 150. Can you believe it? 150 podcasts that Leslie and I have been doing. We're nearly now 3 years in before we started. And we thought, yeah, let's just do a podcast. Let's do some chatting. 3 years down the line, we're recording podcast 150. So it's going to be a special one. So make sure you're listening next week. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to share it with others. Like I said, on the show notes, on the podcast page, you can find all the sharing buttons. And if you'd like to have more handy tips and advice from Leslie and I, you can find us in lots of places. We've got a Facebook group, the Declutter Hub community. We are on Instagram. We've got a Facebook page too. And you can find us on YouTube as well. And if you'd like to know more about our membership, have a look at members.declutterhub.com to find out more. If you don't want to miss our next podcast, which I really hope you won't, please subscribe to the Declutter Hub podcast and it will pop into your notifications each Friday. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast. Check out declutterhub.com for more inspiration, and don't forget to tune in next week.